Hi guys, my name is Zach and today we're going to talk about a Mercedes SLK R171. But first we're going to talk about some SLK history and we'll go to spring 1996 when Mercedes first launched the first generation R170 Mercedes SLK. Mercedes wanted a model of car that would be cheaper for people than a Mercedes SL, but also be a model that could compete with a BMW Z3 and a Porsche Boxster. But they wanted it to be technologically advanced and have innovative design features on this model. So they thought, we'll bring out this two-seater roadster with an electric folding hardtop. And they developed the Visio hardtop. Internally, Mercedes used to call it the Visio. The Visio hardtop was first launched in 1994 with the SLK study concept car. And it was a massive hit. Even Giorgetto Giugiaro presented an award for this design. So Bruno Sacco and Peter Pfeiffer received an award for this innovative modern design. The SLK was a car that offered best of both worlds. So you got a coupe for the winter and a sporty roadster for the summer. So it was very interesting at that time. It was a modern car. It had a Mercedes badge. It was a car you could use every day and it was still special enough to use on the weekends. So it did it all. SLK in German stands for Sporty Lightweight Short. That's the meaning of SLK. And now we're going to talk about the R171 version. This model was launched in 2004 and it was sold all the way up to 2010. It was sold with a few engine sizes. So you could get a entry-level SLK 200, which was a 4-cylinder, 1.8 litre engine with a supercharger. Mercedes called it compressor. So SLK 200 compressor. Then you could also have a V6, which was a Mercedes SLK 280. Then you could also have another V6, which was an SLK 350. And then you jumped to an SLK 55, which had a V8. Yes, a V8 in a small car like this, which I would love to try one day. Maybe we could bring it on the channel and we could all have a look at it. The model I have behind me is a SLK 200 compressor. So this is a 4-cylinder 1.8 litre engine with 163 horsepower and 240 newton meters of torque. The entry level came with a manual gearbox, or you could also have an automatic gearbox. This one has an automatic 5-speed conventional automatic gearbox with a torque converter. Very reliable gearbox, smooth, not the fastest thing if you compare it to maybe a modern day DSG from Volkswagen and Audi, S-Tronic, but it's really comfortable to drive around, I think. DSGs are sometimes a little bit jumpy when you're trying to park or driving through traffic. I always find a normal torque converter automatic gearbox is a lot more smoother. So I think for this type of car, where you're not really trying to race through the gears, it's more of a GT cruiser, put the roof down, cruise home, go for dinner. I think it really suits this car having a normal gearbox, automatic gearbox on this style of car. But yeah, this model was sold from 2004 up to 2010. The model I have behind me is a 2005 build year, and it's an SLK 200 compressor. It might look silver in the video, but it's actually a silvery blue. So it's a silver with a hint of sky blue to it. In the sun, you might be able to get a better look at the color. So a very nice color. I would probably, if it was for me, I'd probably prefer silver, but I think this is a different kind of silver that I think is quite nice. At that time, they were quite popular. I remember Audi A4s had this color. Audi A4 convertibles, you could buy it in this color. Quite a lot of SLK Mercedes were sold in this color. It was quite popular at the time. I think it was just a bit of a change to an average silver. My favorite design feature on the Mercedes SLK 171 is the front end. It is a lookalike to a Mercedes SLR McLaren. So that is my favorite design feature on this car. I think it just looks aggressive, streamlined, modern, but at the same time it's got sort of this classic look going on. And yeah, it's just a very interesting thing that Mercedes did decide to go with the front end to look very similar to the SLR McLaren. I think they did, I think they made a good idea there. That was a good idea for Mercedes. As we move on to the side profile of the car, it's a very streamlined looking car. So the doors are quite big. It's quite a nice big overhang. Boot space inside one of these SLKs is very decent. With the roof up, you have 300 litres. With the roof down, you only have 208. So that would mean if you put this flap down, you only have 208 litres in between there. Because with the roof down, this flap has to stay in place so the roof fits over this flap. But I must admit, if you drive with the roof up, you've got enough for 2 big suitcases, and you've still got enough space to fit some souvenirs after your holiday away. Interior is very spacious for a convertible, basically for a roadster. Big tall people find themselves comfortable inside one of these. I'm 1.83 m and I find myself very comfortable inside here. Build quality there's quite a lot of plastic. And some people say it doesn't feel like a Mercedes because there's quite a lot of plastic going on. But I think they've done it for a reason. Because obviously a convertible is designed to maybe sit in the sun with the roof down. So it could, you know, sit in the sun for quite some time. So I think even though it is quite plasticky, everything works, everything is hard wearing, and I think it's acceptable. Some of these buttons, like these buttons here, are exactly the same on a Chrysler Crossfire. But they do feel plastically, but they are very hard wearing. Same again, I would always fit a tuned-in radio with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto to make it modern. All the dials, like the design of the dials, is really nice. It's got this modern retro look going on, which I think really adds some design. Inside here makes you feel very special. The top of the dash is sort of like this, it's like this hard rubber plastic, and it's sort of granulated, but I think from far away it looks a bit like Alcantara, so I actually quite like the interior inside of here. You can get them with leather. Obviously this car has cloth. Here's quite hot, so lots of people opt for not having leather. Automatic gearbox, 5-speed automatic. You have some driving modes there. This is the wing mirror controls, roof controls. We have a leather wrapped steering wheel. So it is a nice place to sit. You can't really ask for more. This model you can get, the SLK, you can buy it with the extra called air scarves. That's something that is very nice. This model doesn't have it, but when you're driving on a nice, cold winter's day, to have some warm air blowing in the back of your neck is actually quite nice. Wheel sizes on the rear, we have some 16-inch alloy wheels with 225/50 R16s. On the rear we have some Continentals, and then on the front they're slightly narrower. So we have 205s, 55/16. You can get them with the AMG pack. You can have bigger wheels. The ride on that car is quite comfortable. It's quite plush and comfortable because the chassis on these cars is quite rigid. Even with these high profile tires, it does feel sometimes a little bit rigid over some bumpy roads, but it is a 2-seater sports, roadster. So it's acceptable. So now we've got the SLK up on the lift. Let's take a look at the undercarriage. We'll just look at what suspension it's got. What's the drivetrain like, what's the rear end like, what brakes it has. I'll just go over a few things. What we'll do is we'll start with the rear end and we'll work our way forward. So rear suspension setup is, we've got a multi-link suspension strut, which gives very good road holding, and it just transmits quite a lot. All top end cars normally have multi-link on the rear nowadays. This is the rear differential. This car has 45,000 kilometers, so it looks quite new under here. This is the automatic gearbox. This is the 5-speed torque converter gearbox. As you can see, everything looks brand new under here. That's the catalytic converter with the lambda sensor. On the front we have a McPherson setup suspension. And brakes, we have a single piston caliper, but it's a very big single piston caliper. And the front disc size is 300, and on the rear we have 285 discs, also with a single piston caliper. Quite simple under here. You know, there's a drive shaft. One thing that goes wrong on these cars after very high mile lots of miles driving, probably like around 200, 220, 230, 240, this can go. It's basically a rubber bushing in between the drive shaft. That can go, not an expensive fix. But these engines are very reliable. It has a cam chain instead of a cam belt, so don't rag it when it's cold. Change oil frequently, every 10,000, and just respect it. You know, service it often, and you should be okay for a long time. The engines with chain like fresh oil, so you always keep the engine oil, you know, clean and new. Gearbox on these cars are very reliable units. Just keep in mind you've got to service the gearbox every 60,000 kilometers. If you can do it every 50, better. Whenever you can do something before time is always a good option. Hi guys, so let's take this SLK for a quick drive, see how she performs. We've got a little bit of a different angle today, just because these windows have a bit of a curvature to them, so I can't stick the camera to it. But it's a very hot day again, so I'm going to put the aircon on quite powerfully. So I'm 1.80 m free. And I'm on the lowest position. No, I'm not, sorry. Nearly at the lowest position, if not it starts to rub on the backrest. So go a little bit forward so I can go a bit lower. Seating position is amazing. I think if you're still 2 meters tall, you'll still feel absolutely really comfortable in one of these. If you want a 2-seater, you know, coupe, roadster, convertible, this is a very good option. Nice place to sit. Aircon is really powerful, doing a great job here to cool me down. We're not going to put the roof down because if not there'd be quite a lot of wind noise. But yeah, let's set off. So we're in a 1.8 litre SLK 200 compressor. This is a 1.8 litre with 163 horsepower and 240 newton meters of torque, which is more than enough for an everyday car. It's still quick enough for it to feel sporty. You know, keep in mind a decent, you know, hatchback has around anywhere from 120 to 170 horsepower, and that's considered a good hatchback. So this was more than enough to keep up with daily traffic, more than enough to overtake safely. It's a very nice car that does everything very well. The suspension is sort of on the soft side, but the chassis is very rigid, so it's a very nice combo. Steering feel is adequate. It's a little bit on the comfort side, but also it feels, because the steering wheel it's quite a big steering wheel, it feels like the steering's softer than it really is. If the steering wheel was a little bit smaller, the steering would feel a little bit firmer. But as the wheel's bigger, it's easier for it to move, so it makes it feel softer basically. I'm going around these corners, these country roads, and it grips really nicely. It does give me confidence. And keep in mind we're on the high profile tyre option, and it's doing more than enough to keep up with everything. Gearbox is really lovely and smooth. It's 5-speed box. but it does really well. This car weighs 1,390 kilos, and it does 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in around 7.6, 7.7. So it's not the fastest thing. You're not going to win any races, but it will get you out of trouble. And it is more than enough to overtake some cyclists on a country road safely. I'm just going to give a bit of a throttle here. It does rev up nicely. That's 6,500 revs per minute, RPM. So it does go. Brakes are a single piston caliper. It does well to stop it, to be honest. It's not doing a bad job at all. I think if you're someone that's looking for a car that can do everything, but you fancy having a convertible roadster, this is a very good option. I don't think there's anything better out there in this price range that can do everything just as well. Like a Z4 is a lovely car. I really like it. I think it's a little bit more dynamic when you do drive it, and I do like BMWs a lot. But if you had to live with it and have a car that does absolutely everything, this is better suited. This is much better suited. Like, I think a Z4 sits in between, sorry, Z4 or Z3, but I think Z3 and Z4 sit in between a Boxster and one of these. There's more on the comfort side and a little bit bigger inside, and the Boxster and the Z4 is a bit more sporty orientated. Boxster being the most sporty-ish out of them all. Yeah, it feels nice. It's a very strange feeling because it sort of feels really well built, slightly sporty, but also feels very comfortable. I think Mercedes done a very good job on these. I think it's a very good option if you're looking for one. I don't think you'll be disappointed at all. You might be disappointed if you buy a Z4 in the long run. You might feel a little bit cramped, so always try a Z4 or a Z3 out before you do buy it. And this automatic gearbox really suits this car. I think if you're in the market for a two-seater roadster and you need to use the car every day, I think there's nothing better than an SLK. I mean, test drive them all. Test drive a Z3, Z4, go and have a look at a Boxster. But I think if you think about a car that you have to use every day and you have to maintain, and you want it to be reliable, I think in this kind of price range, it's really hard to beat an SLK. And I still think with a Mercedes badge, it's always nice. Maybe as a midlife crisis toy that you need to buy instead of a jet ski, this is a very good option.